Okay, that way. Melinda, you're muted.
I know, I was muted for a reason.
Okay, that's fine. Since I can't see you, I couldn't see if you were trying to talk.
Oh, no, there's background noise, so I didn't want it to disturb. Thank you so much for handling. I need a Grandma Mary Beth meeting soon.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I know the feeling. I need an uplifting Melinda visit. You always jazz me, you know?
Yeah, I'm searching for my jazz right now because we had, let's put it this way. Remember a while back, the sewer pipe broke under my kitchen sink?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Okay. Well, guess what? Now on the other half of the house, we have a bidet.
An unplanned one, I take it.
Yes, a tree root grew through our sewage pipe. And so plumber came out and was shooting water through the line to try to find out what was going on. And in the process, it backed up through our bathroom toilet and sprayed all over my bathroom. So
all that lovely stuff, no doubt.
Yeah. So yeah, so that is probably, there's a plethora of things going on. I left my husband to clean that up. And that's probably one of the reasons why I am going to probably bow out shortly after our speaker starts.
And you sent him the link, right?
I sent him the link, and his handout, he said, because when I looked, he sent me the handout first, and I looked at it, and I'm like, Chad, I said, half of your verbiage is cut off. So he went back and looked at it, and he said that it's because he is using an older version of PowerPoint that he had at the sheriff's office.
Everyone.
It's not compatible. So he has to redo it. He will say this in his talk, because I've already talked with him about it this morning. He did say that he would make the handout available to anyone who wanted it as soon as he fixes it. So, cool. So yeah, we won't be completely without one altogether, just will come post meeting. So,
okay. Well, we've got a few people that have joined us. That's great. Got a few minutes before we begin. Awesome. Mr. Gautreaux, thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, we've had our own share of adventure here. Last Saturday, we suddenly discovered a burst pipe under the house. Had to have the plumber out to do that. So it was an interesting weekend, toting water jugs back and forth.
Man, and then, what is the piping? Everybody's piping is
old age, I guess. And of course, many of you may not realize, I may not have mentioned it to everybody yet. My sister Trudy is having hip replacement surgery on Monday. So if you would keep her in your prayers, that would be appreciated.
Absolutely.
And of course, Melinda's got her surgeries in the loop.
All next week.
So please, keep your siblings in prayer because we all need it. I love when it pops up that they're waiting to be admitted. That's so cool. People coming in. Welcome, welcome.
Good morning.
Pam, you mentioned the confusion about the link not coming from the sisters chapter email. And I didn't even think about that, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. But I don't have access to that email. So we'll have to figure out who has the access that we can forward the link to get them to send it out.
Yeah.
Come from a recognizable place.
I
Melinda,
had,
you haven't gotten that straightened out yet, so you can do that?
Pam, I'm working on it, but like I said, I've got 4 surgeries coming up. We have backed up sewage in my house. I'm doing what I can. I got the sign in and the password from Jessica, but it's not letting me in because it's giving me a text number that I got to figure out who has that text number to get permission to log in. So as soon as life resembles some form of normalcy, I will make sure that I get that so that anybody who does need access to that can get that.
And I may have to just send it to Colleen and ask her to send it on since she's the one that currently has access. And
But
I apologize. I did not think of it that it's not coming from sister so people wouldn't spot it.
May I just ask a question? I joined to watch the procedural discussion. Is that the link you're speaking of?
Yes, ma'am. When I sent the email out to the members, I'm the VP. I'm Mary Beth, not Colleen.
Okay. Okay.
And when I sent it out, I sent it from my email. I didn't think to send it from the chapter email, and that was my bad. But
no,
we'll get there.
Okay, so we're waiting for that to now.
Marianne, why don't you introduce yourself? It's so nice to have you with us.
Okay, I'm Marianne O'Brien. I'm 100 years old almost. No, I'm not.
Wow.
I'm
You look great for your
No, I'm not. I'm only 82. I'm sorry.
you still look great for your age.
You should see me walk. I'm trying to get back to writing. I've not published anything. I've not finished anything. I have multiple hobbies. I've been in my house during the pandemic with my dogs. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to start writing again. So anything I can learn, I've been to a lot of different Zoom not conferences, but meetings online about subjects. And I'm just trying to learn and I have started again.
Great. Well, where are you located, Marianne?
I'm in Durham, Connecticut.
Wonderful. And how did you learn about us?
I got it. Well, I belong to Sync and I got the digest and I saw
Okay, great. I had put it up there. I was hoping that somebody would spot it and join us. Great.
Yep.
Thank
I'm
you.
here.
Glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
well, welcome.
Oh, I see another unfamiliar name. How wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, we really ought to make use of that digest, the Sync newsletter they put up. It's wonderful.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
We
is.
can put a lot
I
about.
wasn't sure if I put it in the right place, but I did get it out there to.
Yeah, you
try.
did. And I did a comment about it, but it didn't show. My red button had not appeared. I finally contacted the support and a nice young man named Nick worked with me. Finally, he said, I'm not sure why it isn't working. So I yelled at the machine and the next time it worked. So maybe the red button discovered I was a murder mystery writer and it
There you go.
it was on a
Sometimes you
short
just have to
lifeline.
threaten.
It didn't appear.
Well, Beth Butler, welcome. Can we get you to unmute yourself for a moment and introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you. Speaking of the Sync community, that's where I found the link.
Great. And where are you located, Beth?
I'm in Hyattsville, Maryland.
Excellent. And what do you write?
Paranormal mysteries.
Ooh.
Loving it. Okay, great.
We have
Well,
a couple of our members here in New Orleans who also write in paranormal mystery.
Great.
yeah. And that's the voice of our president, Melinda. Melinda Falgout she is kind of in transit at the moment, having some issues. And so I'm going to be spearheading the meeting for her just to keep things going. And we thank you so much for attending. My name is Mary Beth, not Colleen. I'm Mary Beth McGee. I write cozy Christian mysteries and children's books. And there she is. Hi, Melinda. She found a port to settle in. I love it. Great. So go, Melinda. I'll just shut up and let you go.
All right. About how many people do we have? All of our regulars tuned in, Miss Mary Beth?
Not yet. Right now we have 8,
Okay.
including our 2 visitors.
All right, fantastic. And by the way, visitors, I will actually be up in your neck of the woods at the end of this month doing a couple of events. So hopefully your snow is done. I was up there in April in Pennsylvania, and that like 10 inches of snow fell. It was not fun. It was not fun. So let's see, is that Miss Margie I see? Hello, Miss Margie.
Hello. I finally
Jessica?
figured out how to make the video show me. Turn the camera on.
Yeah,
Good deal. All
start
right.
video. Yeah.
All right. So I think, does anybody know if Colleen will be in attendance today? Or did she have an event that she had to take care of?
Not sure. She hasn't said anything to me.
Okay. All right.
And I haven't gotten the message that, hey, you're logging in from another device like I did last time.
All right. Let's see. Miss Pam, I will defer to you. Do you think we should wait a few more minutes before we begin chapter business to get that finished real quick?
No,
that
I
we
think
can-
we could probably go ahead, get it done.
Do we have any member news? And I would actually like to extend an invitation to our guests. If you have any writing news that you would like to share, we would be happy to share that with you. Miss Pam, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Let's see, this afternoon or late afternoon sometime or early this evening, Kings River Life magazine will post my story, A Rat's Tale, Remembering Magua. And that'll go live sometime this afternoon. And on Thursday of this coming week, my flash fiction story, Sleeping with Sharks, will go up on Yellow Mama e-zine. And I am on chapter 2 of my re-edit of 4 Pieces of Evidence, which is a paranormal. I have Madame Pandit and Valentino, her BNB or large monkey. We've got a cover set thanks to Miss Marissa, who has done a wonderful job on my cover. And I hope to get that up probably by the end of May. So at the moment, that's my news.
All right,
And I'm
that's
sticking to it.
that's fantastic. Miss Jessica, what's going on?
Well, last weekend I did Books Along the Tesh. It didn't rain us out, which was very good.
You.
No, I mean either. Were you in the children's section? Yeah, I wasn't.
How'd
Right
you
now,
do?
it was good. It was good. At the end of the month, I'm doing a craft show with my nanny. My nanny does the craft shows and I tag along. So she tells me when she's going to be somewhere and I just tag along with her. And I'm writing and doing the critique group. So we are still meeting every other week. If anyone's interested, every Thursday, 7 o'clock, every other Thursday, 7 o'clock, we're rolling along. It's going great. Everybody's working on a project right now. Real interesting. And right now I'm sitting on LSU's campus waiting for my daughter to take a literary rally test. So that's why I'm outside and the wind is blowing and everybody's hearing me talk.
Awesome. Miss Mary Beth, how about you?
Well, this past week, I had the lovely surprise of getting an email from Chicken Soup for the Soul to find out that my story, Mechanic Angel, got chosen for the podcast this week. And so that was out in the podcast. I was so excited. I probably bombarded everybody. If you got it a couple of times, I'm sorry. I just got excited. And that went on. A lot of our, we've been reaching out to the Creative Minds Writers Group, and several of them indicated they were interested in our topic today, but today is the Strawberry Festival in Ponchatoula. So they're a little distracted at the moment because they have a booth there. So we'll have to think about maybe next year getting us up there for Strawberry Festival. That might be fun.
I do have a question, Mary Beth, that you may know. Isn't Creative Minds the group that put on the, what was it, books, berries, and
Berries, Bridges, and Books.
That one.
Yes,
Is
they
do we
put
have
that on.
that may be
But
coming
of course,
back?
with COVID, they haven't put it on. They are discussing whether to try to put it on this year. They have a new location. They no longer meet at the art studio where they used to meet. They now meet in the Twin Steeples facility, which is two churches face to face in Ponchatoula, two historic churches. It's really cool. And can they do it there? It would have to be modified in some format, but they are looking at it. They have not yet made a decision. Trying to come out of COVID and figure out what's what. They did put out their anthology last month. So that was released last month. So that helps raise the funds for it. So hopefully that's a good sign.
Good deal. Keep us in the loop with that.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Then in that same vein, Blueberry Festival.
Blueberry Jubilee is in June. If you're interested, let me know. I'll be there with the Poplarville Storytellers Guild, so I can't man a booth the whole time. But I can set it up. I've got the table, I've got the tents, I've got the tables and chairs and all of that stuff. So if you're interested in participating, let me know. And if we get enough people that want to split the cost of a booth, we can go in and do it.
And Mary would be so kind as to drop your contact email in the chat just to remind everybody.
Absolutely.
And that
And
way
for our guests, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Melinda, but for our guests, if you will email me, as Melinda mentioned earlier, the handout will be coming a little later. So if you would like to get a copy of the handout, email me and we'll forward it along to you when we get it.
What is your email?
It's in the
She's
chat.
the
the-
chat.
Okay,
Can you get it?
I'm gonna look. Wait a minute.
Okay.
And then also use on Trash to Treasure.
Okay.
Trash
So-
to Treasures is coming up
May, is it not?
May. Yeah. And I didn't add that to my little list here to talk about. It's coming up. I've taken a booth. If you're interested in participating, I only took one table, one booth, which is 12 by 12. If you're interested, let me know. It may not be too late to add a second adjoining
the
booth
date?
if we need it.
The date?
Oh, sure. Dates. Hang on. That's awful. And I thought I had added it to my little gizmo here, but I guess I didn't. Oh, wait, there it is. May 14th. It's in the newsletter. It went out in the newsletter, May 14th.
Perfect.
From
Perfect.
9 to 3.
Thank
Like
you.
I say, I have one tent and a couple of tables and chairs. If we get more people that want to participate, we can do so. But we'll need to get extra tent and tables.
Excellent. All right. Moving on, Miss Margie, do you have any news?
No, nothing. I'm just plodding along on my novel and some short stories.
That's something. That's something.
Yeah. Thank
Miss
you.
Mary has gotten back into her writing. She is a guest of ours from Connecticut, correct?
Yes, and I'm also working, I have a new iPad Pro and I'm trying to navigate Word on my iPad Pro. It's a little bit different than my laptop, but I'll do it.
All right. And Miss Beth Butler, do you have any writing related news that you would like to share with your new friends here at St. NOLA?
Nothing new, just trying to make progress on my current novel.
Fantastic. And that's paranormal fiction, correct?
It is.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So then next on our agenda is going to be meeting space. We are, as everyone has slowly become vaccinated, boosted, and is staying relatively healthy, we are very much pushing towards trying to find a safe location to meet in person again. And we are striking out left and right. Colleen is having some difficulty getting any love from the Orleans Parish libraries, and in the past has also had issues with the Jefferson Parish Library, but she's still plugging away at the New Orleans Library. Martin Wine Cellar, both she and I both called, and the number is just astronomical. It's out of our budget. They are now up to $350 to rent their room. I tried calling the American Legion. They're $250 or more to rent a room. And what was the other one I checked? The VFW hall, again, out of a reasonable budget line for us. I've been looking around at different coffee shops to see if any of them have like a room to the, like a bigger room to the side. I haven't really found one yet. And what else we were checking? It was one other thing we were checking.
I
But
checked the people program out at the lake shore, and although I pretty well figured out what their answer would be, their liability insurance won't cover anybody other than those who are there for their program. So that one's out as well.
so the reason why I bring it up is because I wanted to put it to the membership for everyone to please. If you, I know many of you already have put your thinking caps on, but if you have a sudden burst of inspiration, you're driving along and you suddenly see someplace that could be ideal, please let one of the board members know so that we can meet about it and pursue it. Because we very much would like to have a live meeting for our June presentation. And so we will segue into that. Our June presentation plan is—
Melinda, I'm sorry. Can I ask one thing real quick? In the middle
Sure.
of that, I don't know how many members do you typically have at a live meeting?
usually not more than 12. Our number
For a one-off type thing, I could probably get, depending on when and how many, what time of day, what day of the week, I could probably get the sheriff's office to agree to let you all meet in maybe one of our roll call rooms at one of our districts.
Oh,
Or,
wouldn't that be fun?
I figure it would be fairly fitting and appropriate considering the group that's meeting. It might be interesting for you all to sit in an actual roll call room. So if you give me some advance notice, maybe in the future we could plan as a one-off type thing that allow you all have a meeting at one of our locations.
Sure. Our meetings are almost always on the third Saturday of the month from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And so
That
June—
shouldn't be a problem. We don't have in the districts, our patrol districts, roll calls are at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So that won't interfere with anything. On a Saturday, there are no office staff there. So as long as I or somebody else with the sheriff's office were there to make sure the property stays well maintained and things, I think I could probably get permission for that.
we would appreciate it sincerely. And if you can just let me know that out. We are looking for a June meeting place. Because
No problem.
Yes, our June meeting is something that as writers, we often forget, and that is writer self-care. We spend a lot of time sitting in front of a computer, experiencing eye strain, shoulder strain from being hunched over the keyboard, from pounding our head against the monitor because we don't like where the plot line is going. And so we forget to do those little things that can help us stay fresh so that we can churn out great stories. So we have the availability of having a speaker who is both a life coach and a licensed masseur. He is also a licensed personal trainer, and he is willing to go through with us on some little tips and tricks that'll help us stay in shape for writing the next great American novel. He has also offered a free 5-minute chair massage to all those in attendance. He will ask us to do a sign-up sheet prior to, but if we just need to make sure that we have a physical meeting place for that to happen. So if everyone likes that idea for our June meeting, then that is, we'll go ahead and we'll try to get the ball rolling on getting all of those parts into place. We will also have a nice little goodie bag for everyone in attendance with some nice little pleasantly scented toiletries to make you smell fresh and pretty while you're slaving away at the keyboard. So that is for June. For May, we are doing a command performance of actor Valika Gray on the Enneagram, which is getting inside your character's head. She has retooled the presentation to make it more writer friendly, to help you really be able to understand your characters' personalities and really make them come to life off the page for your reader. We are sending out again a link, which is a password protected link to a video, which we ask all members or people who are going to be in attendance to please watch prior to the meeting. She also has sent me some additional information that will help make the Enneagram a little bit easier to understand. So I will disseminate that by Monday. Everybody will get that. And that will give you plenty of time. That gives you more than a month to view, review, come up with questions. And she is going to use well-known characters from well-known literature and movies and television so that everybody can really get a firm grasp on the topic. Unlike when we did this presentation the first time, it was a little confusing because she had sent out the video link a little short of time. So not everybody got to understand it to the full. And so she's agreed to come back and do that. That will be at our May meeting. I believe that is May the 21st. Is it not, Mary Beth?
Yes.
So May the 21st with actor Valika Gray, formerly of The Young and the Restless and many other television and movies. And she will be discussing getting inside your character's head. So if any of our guests would like to come in and attend, please make sure we've got your email in that chat room, and we're happy to do that. We will also post it in the same place that we posted the link for this meeting, so that if you ever see anything that we do that you're interested in, please come on down. We'd love to have you.
Melinda, we just had a new entrant into the room, Catherine Linka.
Miss Catherine, if you would be so kind as to unmute and introduce yourself to us. We're glad to have you here today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a YA writer who's moving into adult thrillers.
And where are you from, if we may ask?
I'm up in Seattle.
Wow, we're getting folks from all over the place today. I love it. Please, if you would like to receive the handout for today's speaker, please drop your email in the chat room so that we can forward that to you once that is fine-tuned and ready. All right, and moving on
Kelly
to,
Marsh just joined us too.
oh, yay. All righty, let's see. Miss Shelley, if you would be so kind as to unmute and introduce yourself. She said hello in the chat, so. Oh, Shelley, where are you from, Shelley? Florida, fantastic.
Excellent.
Fantastic. What part of Florida? Jacksonville. Awesome. Okay. That's great. Be sure to check out the Sunshine State Book Festival happening up in Gainesville Saturday and Sundays. So,
And I don't know if she heard about the handout.
Okay. And Shelley, be sure to drop your email in the chat room if you would like to receive the handout from today's speaker. We will be sending that out forthwith. You just need to drop your email in that chat so that we can make sure that we can get in touch with you. All right. We have anybody else dropped in, Mary Beth? No? All right. So then the final order of business that I am aware of is I need to make a motion whether our chapter will indeed get a table at the Louisiana Book Festival, so that as soon as that application goes live, we can go ahead and take care of that. So I moved that our chapter get a table for our published authors. Anyone second the motion?
Second.
All right.
And we still
have-
don't have a date, right? It's except October.
I do not know that they have posted it specifically. I just know that it's going to be, I think they said it is going to be in October.
Great.
Okay. All right. So I don't think Marissa is here today.
He's working.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have any news for the newsletter, please do drop that line to Marissa so that she can get that into our next newsletter. And so any of the member news that went out today, please guys, let her know so we can share it with anybody who was not in attendance today. And I think that if anybody, does anybody else have any business that I missed that needs to be discussed?
We need a vote. You
Oh.
you made the motion, I seconded, we didn't have a vote.
Sorry. So can we please have a vote whether yay or nay, whether SYNC will take the table at the Louisiana Book Festival this year? Aye.
Yay.
Miss Jessica, is that a, okay?
Yes. Mhm.
Margie, any? All right, and I think that takes care of all of our current members who are present. So motion moves forward and we will go ahead, and as soon as that application goes live, we will go ahead and secure that table for the group. All right, any other business? Awesome. Well then, ladies, and the one gentleman we have today is our presenter. I am proud to present a very good friend of mine who I have known for many years, and he has been involved in multiple aspects of the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, and he has agreed to come speak to us today on police procedure and to give us some insight on some aspects of police procedure that will help us make our mystery fiction and our crime fiction smack of reality. He's going to tell you a little bit more about himself in detail because he is the man, the myth, the legend. Chad Gautreaux from the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. Mr. Gautreaux, if you'll take it away.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I believe Melinda sent out a little bit of a bio, but I'm going to go over my background. Also, just number one, because I've attended enough seminars, lectures, and Zoom meetings over the years to know that most people don't read bios. But also so that you know where I am coming from, what my background is, so that we can manage expectations of what you can expect out of me. I don't claim to know police procedure for all 50 states. As she said, I am with the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. I'm retired, actually. I retired a year ago this month from full-time service after 30 years. And now I'm currently a reserve officer with JPSO. I began my career in 1991 as a clerk in the records division of the Sheriff's Office. From there, I proceeded to transfer to our correctional center. I worked in the jail for a couple of years while I went through the Gretna Police Department Training Academy at night. After getting full certification and becoming a post-certified officer, I transferred out to Uniform Patrol and worked in the 2nd District, which is on the West Bank of Jefferson Parish. For our out-of-state people, Jefferson Parish is a suburban area right outside New Orleans. We are the neighboring parish. We use parishes instead of counties. And we are Jefferson Parish is, I don't know if we're still the largest parish in the state. We may be just under East Baton Rouge now, but we are one of the largest parishes by population in the state of Louisiana. We are still considered suburban, though, to the city of New Orleans. They have a much higher crime rate than we do. We luckily have a much improved quality of life in Jefferson Parish. Anyway, back to history. After transferring to the road, I worked in Uniform Patrol for a couple of years and then became a detective. I was a detective in our juvenile division, worked in the juvenile habitual offender unit. I've supervised juveniles on high-risk probation for a couple of years and also worked in the runaway missing persons unit. Transferred back to the road, went back to the 2nd District Uniform Patrol, and was there for another 4 years before I was promoted to the rank of sergeant. My initial promotion was to do the criminal enforcement for our tax bureau. I would go to businesses that were delinquent on sales taxes and would repossess property, monies, write up warrants for arrests for business owners who did not pay sales taxes. I missed the road and the thrill of street work. So after a couple of years of that, I transferred back to the district as a sergeant and supervised deputies again within the 2nd District. I did that for about 12 years and was promoted to the rank of lieutenant, which was in Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. A lieutenant is over a platoon. So I had 2 sergeants and anywhere from 10 to 15 deputies reporting to me for the final 7 years of my career. During that time, I was also a negotiator for the Sheriff's Office. I did negotiations for over 20 years. And for the last 7 years of my career, I ran the negotiations team as the assistant team leader, which meant field command of the negotiators were always kind of under my control. And I apologize now for the shaky video. I'm actually in a car riding to the Strawberry Festival myself that you mentioned earlier. In addition to my duties as a negotiator, I also was responsible for the training of new officers. And as a deputy, I trained new officers, but then as a sergeant, I supervised the training. And as a lieutenant, I would supervise all of the training of new officers within my district, and also eventually worked my way up to be the commander of all field training for the entire Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. I am a graduate of Loyola University. I graduated last year with a degree in criminal justice. I am also a graduate of the FBI National Academy in 2017. For those unfamiliar, the FBI National Academy is not the FBI Academy to become an agent. The National Academy is, I guess the easiest way to consider it is like a command college for law enforcement officers. In our area, you have to be at least a lieutenant or higher to be eligible to attend. It's only open to about less than 1% of the world's law enforcement. So it's kind of a crowning achievement of someone's career. For those who are interested in it, usually is the capstone of a career toward the end. So with all of that, my field of expertise, so to say, is uniform patrol. When someone dials 911, we're the ones who show up. Guys in the marked car, red and blue lights, uniform on, that's what we do. I didn't want anybody to think that I'm an expert in, let's say, interrogation. That wasn't my thing. I did not do homicide interrogations. I went on homicide scenes, but interrogation was for the detectives in homicide. So, and just managing expectations. So the things I would like to speak about today would be, number one, crime scenes, how to approach a crime scene, what we do on a crime scene, things like that. So think of a crime scene from a police perspective. We kind of approach it almost like a math problem. You have an order of operations in math. We have kind of an order of operations. First thing we do is make sure that anybody who is alive on that scene has whatever medical attention is necessary. That's the first thing we're looking for, victims who need help. Everything else is secondary to that. Once we know that is taken care of, then we move on to securing area, trying to get a hold of whatever real estate we can to make sure the scene is locked down so that it can be properly processed. Officers on a scene, the deputies, sergeants, lieutenants, as they arrive, usually the first responding officer is tending to the interior of whatever scene we have. If it's inside of a house, they're making sure that the people in there are good, that it's secure. Responding officers after that will then be in charge of setting up a perimeter. We do an inner and outer perimeter. Outer perimeter is what you want first because that is the hardest to maintain. That's going to be your outside area. This is where you're going to see the biggest amount of your yellow tape and things like that. That is meant to keep out not only the general public, looky-loos, people trying to look in, but also even police personnel who don't need to be there. We like to say contamination by white shirts. White shirts usually are command staff. So those are the main ones you want to keep kind of, if you don't really need to be in the scene, don't get in the scene. You also station an officer on the inside of that caution tape for that purpose. They're usually standing there with a notepad and they're recording the name, rank, and time of entry and exit of every person who enters that scene. Usually that officer standing there is more than enough to keep people out. They know what that means. So that if they don't need to be on that scene, once they see somebody's recording everything, they'll kind of keep on their side of the barricade. Something I found in my years of working, especially if you have a homicide where, say, in an apartment complex or a neighborhood where there's a lot of people and you have a lot of people in that outer perimeter, I would always station an officer in that outer perimeter area solely for the purpose of listening to the crowd chatter. You hear a lot of things, people talking amongst themselves, that is useful for an investigation. A lot of times when there's a homicide in any kind of residential area, people know who did it, or they have a good idea who did it. So just stationing somebody out there listening to crowd chatter is extremely important. Most people don't think to do that, and it wasn't something I really keyed into until I'd say maybe my last 5 or 6 years on the department. It became more and more common to have those
Chad,
large crowds.
May I interrupt for 1 second?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I see some people writing frantically. And I know from experience that he does tend to speak very quickly. I didn't want anyone to panic that they were going to miss something because you will have the handout, but we are also recording this meeting and I can do a transcript for those of you who are feared of missing something. So don't anybody panic if you feel he's speaking too quickly. Okay. And
I'm
Chad,
sorry.
please don't feel like, don't feel like you need to change your pace because you've got a lot of information to get out. I just wanted to make sure folks realized that, they weren't going to be like lost amidst the words. So
And
thank
I
you.
apologize. Having the PowerPoint would have helped me keep my cadence down a little bit and my speed. But unfortunately, the equipment I did the PowerPoint on apparently is allergic to apples. Is the best way I could put it. So I apologize for that. I hope to get it straightened out, and I will send it to Melinda as soon as I can. Hopefully
We
where you
thank
all can read the bullet points.
Please
So
continue.
anyway, oh yeah. So anyway, crime scene. So once that outer perimeter is set, you officers want to set the outer perimeter as wide as possible. And the reason for that is it's easier to shrink a crime scene than it is to enlarge one once people have stepped all over it, possibly contaminated things. So that outer perimeter where you see that yellow tape is always going to be as much real estate as we can grab right off the bat. Within a reasonable amount. Of course, we don't want to keep people out of their homes unnecessarily or block a street if we don't have to. But the more real estate we can grab right away, the better. The inner perimeter is usually marked with red tape, and that is a do not cross unless you absolutely have to get in. Crime scene, EMS, the first homicide detective on scene. That is the inner perimeter. That is an absolutely no-go. If you don't have a reason to be in there, you better not be in there, because those are anybody who does enter that area is 100% probably going to go to court in reference to this case. So that's your crime scene. Once all of that is locked down, witnesses are usually brought out of a crime scene if at all possible. Take them off the scene to where they're not contaminating anything further, not traumatized by the viewing of the still fresh scene. And when we separate them out, usually the way to do that is to put them into a unit, a police car, if possible. If we have them available on scene, we sit them down, get them in air conditioning if it's hot. That way they're kind of cordoned off by themselves. Within a reasonable amount of time after a scene is starting to get processed, detectives are usually notified, and I say very quickly, it depends on a number of factors, but usually we will then transport those witnesses to our detective bureau where detectives will then interview them. So the physical scene will then, the next step will be crime scene officers, which most people think of CSI. Those are our guys who come in, throw dust around for fingerprints, take pictures, et cetera, et cetera. And that's extremely important. That's where most of the activity is going to be happening on a crime scene, is with crime scene officers. I really could use my bullet points right now. I wish I could pull this up. So again, I really do apologize for that. I'm very sorry. I thought I was going to have another week for this. I thought it was going to be next weekend. That's why I'm driving to the Strawberry Festival while doing this. So my apologies. Melinda, it didn't pull up at all on yours either when you saw it, did it?
No, it cuts off
Okay.
Most of like the top and the bottom of each text thing that was in the blue line.
That's what I thought. It was the same on my screen. I was just making sure you didn't have any more than I did.
Nope.
Okay. So again, that's your basic crime scene processing. Actually, the physical aspects of processing a crime scene. I know somebody had asked about booking procedures, I believe, how we arrest a subject. So when a subject is arrested in Jefferson Parish, whoever is transporting that subject will bring them to our correctional center, excuse me, into what's called our intake booking area. Intake is where initial processing begins. The officer who made the arrest will escort the subject in. Once that subject has passed a metal detector in the lobby of the intake booking area, correction officers will take over the physical control of that subject, pat them down, make sure everything's done with that, fingerprinting, photographing, while the officer who made the arrest will then go work on their arrest report, running rap sheets, make sure there's no warrants for the subject, things of that nature. So that's the very quick version of booking procedures. One thing to note in Jefferson Parish, a lot of people don't know this, if the officer making the arrest is not the one transporting the subject to the jail, then the arrest paperwork has to be notarized by a supervisor on scene. The reason for that is if I was to make an arrest and bring a subject to the jail, when I get to the jail, the booking sergeant or intake booking sergeant or lieutenant who's there is supposed to, do the whole raise your right hand, do you swear by this, and notarize that information, go over it, make sure it's correct. Since the officer making the arrest is not going, then they have to have it notarized. Somebody has to sign off on it, basically. So all ranking officers in Jefferson Parish are considered ex officio notaries. So they can do field notarizations of JPSO arrest paperwork prior to transport. I hope that covered everything you wanted about booking, Melinda. Yes, no? Are there any questions? Anybody I can offer any guidance, assistance? Please, I not knowing exactly what you all want, you all are going to guide me. So if
Now,
there are any
Chad,
questions.
you've mentioned a couple of times that you specifically referenced, because of course you worked in Jefferson Parish, that that's how they do things in Jefferson Parish. But you've also mentioned to me in our meeting that where the finest points of detail may differ, that a lot of the sheriff's offices in counties across the country operate in a similar fashion, if not like point for point specifically. But if somebody wanted to give a description of what's going on in, say, DeKalb County, Georgia, it might be very similar to what Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office does. Am I remembering that correctly or no?
I mean, again, no, I would say I can't say it would be or it wouldn't be, because every state, and even in Louisiana, every jurisdiction has a lot of differences in how they do things. For instance, NOPD, the New Orleans Police Department, does things much different than Jefferson Parish in that they're a municipality. They most of the crimes they arrest people for fall within their city charters, and there's different ways to document and such. And I know in Plaquemines, which is a neighboring area to Jefferson Parish, any felony that they have to go, and even if they have the subject on scene and they have probable cause to make the arrest, they have to go and have it signed off by a judge or commissioner court prior to making that arrest. So there are differences in almost every jurisdiction. You have a lot of similarities in how things work, but and those are the broad strokes, though. As far as almost every arrest anywhere in America, Miranda rights are going to be read. That's a given. That has to be done. It's in the Code of Criminal Procedure for Louisiana.
That was actually one of the questions that popped up in the chat, is when specifically in the process are those read?
Those are read as soon as you know you're arresting somebody. The minute you know you're placing a subject under arrest, read them their rights. Because anything they say after that, you can't use. The way the Supreme Court has defined it is that once an investigation turns from investigatory to accusatory, that's when Miranda rights come into play. Because anything a subject says after you have in your mind identified them as a suspect and you're accusing them, well, that's now fruit of the poisonous tree if they say something and you have not read them their rights. So the way I always taught my officers, the second you place handcuffs on, the minute you're telling somebody they're under arrest, you better start with their rights right then and there. And it doesn't matter how many times you say it. You could read them their rights on the scene. You can read them their rights at the jail. The more, the better. There's no overuse of Miranda warnings. It's kind of like patting a subject down. I can trust that Officer A, my buddy over here, patted him down, but you know what? I'm going to do it myself anyway. So it's a good practice, just like for physical control of a subject, to pat them down when you're going from officer A to officer B. There's nothing wrong with when going from officer A to officer B in physical custody to also reread Miranda. It's just a good catch-all.
And one of the things that we had talked about was basically where do detectives, like if you're investigating a case, if you have an incident that's occurred, where do you glean the most information? Is it from the crime scene? Is it from the tip line? Is it from interviewing witnesses? All of the above? Can you speak to that at any great length?
That is 100. I mean, that's every case is different, just like every person is different. So there is no, well, always this or always that or more of one or the other. It's going to depend on the case and what's present and available at the time. Most homicides that we have had in Jefferson Parish over the last 20 or so years, the vast majority of them are known suspects. It's a relative, it's somebody a person has had an argument or prior history with, or domestic. So it's not a high number of cases that we have where we don't have investigative leads almost right off the bat. I think there was a question that just popped up in the chat, but I couldn't see it.
Let's look and see. It's how many databases do you typically use during an investigation?
Again, I have not worked in the Detective Bureau in over 20 years. I know that they have a lot more that they use now than they ever have. The common ones you'll hear about are, of course, your IBIS, which is your database for firearm and ammunition recognition. Excuse me. NCIC, which is what we use to run warrants through, to check for warrants and also for stolen property. But there are a million data. We have an entire digital forensics unit now in the sheriff's office that does nothing but scour databases. So I couldn't even begin to tell you how many they use.
Okay, one of the things that we also had talked about was busting through common tropes. We often
Yes.
see things that appear in TV shows, in movies, and we know some of our policeman friends cringe. What are your top 10
the
tropes?
cringiest thing you'll ever see me get a reaction out of is the whole police officer eating donuts thing. That you can actually hear my eyes roll when I hear people talk about that. So where that comes from, if anybody is not aware of the history behind the whole cops and donuts thing, donut shops historically were the only places open 24 hours a day where an officer working the night shift could go get a cup of coffee, get out of his car, and do his paperwork. So they became places where people would see police officers, police cars quite often. I worked night shift for many years as a sergeant, as a lieutenant, as a deputy. And I can tell you firsthand, that's 100% true. Sitting in that car for 8, 12, 16 hours a day, it kills your back. Wearing 30 pounds of gear around your waist while trying to sit in a car for that long, you just got to get up and move around every now and then. So finding a place where you could sit down relatively quietly, try to knock out some of your reports, paperwork, or even some of your online training. Now officers have to do online training every year, continuing education. So places where you can sit and do things like that aren't sitting in your car are a welcome diversion. So that's a big one. That is the one that has always driven me up a wall. Another one you'll see cops roll their eyes over is walking into any public place and immediately hearing from at least, one or two people, "Whoa, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Oh, it was him. He's the one. Go arrest him." Oh my God. We've all heard that about 1 billion times in our careers. and it's never been funny, not once. So it's certainly not funny at the 8 billionth hearing of it. And it's everywhere we go. You could be in Walmart, you could be in Starbucks, anywhere, and somebody is going to do that. It's a given. It happens every single day, and it is absolutely ridiculous every single time. Another one that we all hate, and not many people will say anything about it, but I usually do, is you'll see parents with their small children. Oh, look at that policeman. He's going to put you in jail. We hate that. Absolutely despise it. Children should not, we are not the boogeyman. We are not here to raise your kids. That's your job as a parent. And we're not to be feared. The only people who should fear us are the ones who commit crime. If a 3-year-old child acting up in the store has committed a crime, okay, well, that's one thing, but they haven't. Leave them alone. They shouldn't be afraid. And what I tell people, and I've embarrassed a few parents in stores over the years, well, when you get hurt and your child is the only one who saw what happened and they're afraid to talk to me because you have put this fear in them, I don't want to hear it later. I see a lot of head nodding. You've all seen or heard that one, haven't you? Yeah, we
No.
get that one a lot too. It drives us up a wall, especially as a parent. I have 3 children myself. I don't ever want children to be afraid of police. That I really, that one has always hit home for me and always really got to me. So is there anything specific any of you would like to ask about what we do and how we do it? I'm happy to answer anything you like. I'm an open book. I can't believe I just said I'm an open book to a group of writers. Wow, now I sound ridiculous.
I have a question.
Sure.
Once someone is presented for booking as a potential suspect, who takes them to a holding cell or some other place of restraint? Is it the person at the booking? Go ahead.
Well, our in Jefferson Parish, our intake booking area is attached to the rest of our jail, our parish correctional center. So the arresting officer or transporting officer will bring the subject in. Once they've brought him through the metal detector, then they're completely taken over by correctional officers, the people who staff the jail, and they will take the subject wherever they need to be from that point forward.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a
you're
question.
welcome.
I had
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question.
Sure.
What about you're at the scene of a murder and you see a body, and so you call the police and you wait there for them to come? How do they treat that person? The person who found the body and reported it? Would they be considered a suspect, or would
we
they
won't
be?
know that until we start talking to them. The first thing we'll do is treat them as a witness. And you treat everybody, unless you have reason to treat somebody as a suspect, you don't treat them as a suspect.
Would they be transferred down to the station to be interviewed?
Yes, and that, like any other witness, any witness to a murder is going to go to our detective bureau because it's not considered uniform. It's all populated by plainclothes detectives, so it puts people a little more at ease. And it's just a different surrounding. They're not on a scene. They're not sitting in a marked unit. They're not sitting in the district station or the jail or anything like that. It's more like a regular office, and where they will then be interviewed by a detective.
They didn't witness the murder. They just found the body. So would they be questioned right there at the scene before they're transported, or?
It depends on the circumstances. If the detective who is going to be handling that case can make the assessment in that quick a period of time that the person who made the phone 911 call or the discovery doesn't have any material information to the actual incident, they may let them go at that point once they've gathered their information. Okay. But again, that's a case-by-case basis. Any other questions? So a couple of other ridiculous tropes that you see nowadays in police work is you see the guardian versus warrior mentality. I think that's something that's been used to sell a lot of self-help type books or seminars. And you see a lot of young cops buying into that. Oh, we have to be warriors, not guard. It's nonsense. It's garbage. Police officers are supposed to be what they're needed to be at the time they're needed to be it. If you're on a scene where you have to kick down a door, well, then obviously you've entered warrior mode. If you're on a scene where you have a grieving person, then you're a guardian. You're there to help. I've never understood those lines in the sand people draw of police are you're supposed to just be this muscle-bound guy kicking down doors all the time, and that's just who you are. No, we're people like anybody else. You're going to find every type of person in law enforcement, every mentality. We are a microcosm of the rest of society. You have your book nerds who become cops. You have very physical guys who become cops. I myself, that's how I met Melinda. I'm a theater nerd. I love musicals. I go to plays as often as I can. I cry at Disney movies, but have I kicked down doors? Have I tackled and wrestled people to the ground and put them in jail? Absolutely. We are no different than anybody else.
Chad, we have a couple of questions in the chat if you don't
Sure.
mind.
Absolutely.
Okay. What is the age typically used to differentiate between juvenile and adult offenders in Jefferson Parish?
Well, now the state of Louisiana has, within the past couple of years, changed the law on that. It used to be that 17 was the age of majority, of which you could be culpable of a criminal, arrested as an adult for a criminal act. It is now 18 for all offenses. So now 18 is the cutoff. Now, that's not to say that a person under the age of 18 can't be charged as an adult, but that's done by the district attorney's office. The district attorney, once charges are presented and filed, they make the determination if a crime is severe enough, whether or not to charge that juvenile as an adult. But the age of criminal majority now is 18. As far as juvenile arrests, no juvenile can be arrested under the age of 10. 10 years old is the cutoff for juvenile criminal culpability. Anything under the age of 10, the only thing a juvenile could ever be charged with under the age of 10 is what we call a status offense. Runaway, child in need of services, things of that. And that's just to get them into the juvenile court system if they need some sort of attention, services, mental health, things like that. Not criminal. Status offenses are not considered criminal. So a juvenile can only be charged with a crime between the ages of 10 and 17.
Great information. Thank you. Next question is, what behavior by a witness would make you suspect them of involvement in a crime?
That's kind of going into intuition. Sometimes you just feel it. And I don't know how to put a real stamp on that, but some behaviors that could possibly lead us to honing more in on that person would be the more they ask about leaving. Hey, are you done with me? Can I go? Can I go now? Can I go now? I gotta go do this. I gotta go do that. Giving silly excuses to get off of a scene once they're there, that raises suspicion.
Interesting. Next question. If a person is accused of pushing someone over a cliff, but the accuser wasn't close and the accused said he was trying to keep the victim from jumping, would the accused automatically be arrested?
Wait, I'm sorry, I might have to read that one because
Yeah.
that was a bit of a mouthful.
Yes, it was.
That's not
But it's
showing up in my
intriguing.
chat. That's not showing up in my chat. So I'm gonna have to
Okay,
ask, can you
so
repeat
we're gonna
that?
try it again. And I'm just gonna borrow Melinda for this, okay? So if I accuse Melinda of pushing someone over a cliff, but I wasn't close, and Melinda says she was just trying to keep the victim from jumping, would Melinda automatically be arrested?
Not necessarily. More than likely, in excuse me, in that case, more than likely the report would be written and forwarded to the district attorney's office, who would make a determination as to whether or not to charge the subject.
Cool. Other questions, folks? We've got a little bit more time if you've got them. We'd love to pick Chad's mind while we've got access to him before he goes and pigs out on strawberries. And eat some for me because I can't be there.
Absolutely, happy to.
Great question, Catherine. What has been satisfying about your position?
There are several things. I loved every well, I can't say every minute of it. There were definitely some low points in my career, but for the most part, I loved what I did. I still love it. That's why I remained a reserve officer when I retired. But the most satisfying has to be my negotiations work. I loved being a negotiator. The two biggest incidents that I'll share in my negotiations career were, one, I had a subject, these are both suicidal, by the way. In Jefferson Parish, we very rarely have ever had a true hostage situation. Most of our negotiations work is with suicidal subjects or barricaded subjects. One subject, he was suicidal. He had a gun to his head for about 3.5 hours that I talked to him. But I actually had to conduct kind of a dual negotiation because his mother was also there and would not leave the scene because she was afraid the minute she stepped out of his line of sight that he would kill himself. So I kind of had to negotiate with both of them, trying to get them out.
Wow.
Wow.
So that was very satisfying that they both walked away from that. And another one, I'm not going to give a time frame on it because it is still relatively recent, within the past few years, but talking somebody off the Huey P. Long Bridge after about 3.5 to 4 hours of talking. And this one did make the news quite a bit, so it may still be fresh. So I don't want to get into too many details of it, but I have zero doubt in my mind that I saved that man's life. So for me, that is extremely rewarding. But there's lots of little things that make up a good career. Seeing children look at a police officer in uniform and smiling and waving back and smiling at them, that makes my day every single day, still to this day. I love that.
That's great. Well, flip side of that, what would be a low point? You mentioned that there have been low points. What sort of thing brings you down?
The worst thing that I still revisit every now and then is seeing an 18-month-old child that was put into a dryer and killed.
That hurts just thinking about.
That's one of the few things that there was an entire family that was wiped out by a jealous boyfriend who beat them all to death with a hammer. Things like that, anything involving a child victim, that has stayed with me over the years.
Okay. Next question. What is Jefferson Parish's stance on high-speed chases, and what happens when you cross into New Orleans? Into Orleans,
We don't.
I should say.
Unless they are leaning out of the window, actively shooting at people, we do not cross into New Orleans anymore. Of course, again, we take it on a case-by-case basis. If the officer can provide a good reason for it, he has to be able to justify it. No matter what, in any instance, officers have to be able to justify their actions. As a supervisor, I called off pursuits all the time. My deputies would start a pursuit, but if they couldn't tell me a good reason of why they were pursuing, or they couldn't tell me what the conditions around them were in their pursuit, I would call it off. And when I say the conditions around them, what is traffic like? What is the weather conditions like? What are the road conditions like? Are there any pedestrians? How many people are in the car you're chasing? What is it if you can't, if your first answer as a deputy to me is, well, nope, stop. If you can't articulate what you're doing, don't do it. So those, under our previous sheriff, Newell Norman, he at one point stopped anything going into the city of New Orleans. And because we had a very contentious relationship with the city at the time, it's not as bad now, but our rules are just different than the city. I think it's going to be a little more lax now that we have body cameras and the city does as well. So I think it will be a little easier to cross those boundaries if we need to. Whereas previously when we did, New Orleans had body cameras, we didn't. So the DA's office and the Public Integrity Bureau of New Orleans were a little more antsy about JPs going into their territory and doing things, feeling it might not be up to their codes and standards.
You run into a he said, she said thing.
Exactly.
Now, on the subject of body cams, what's your overall opinion of them?
I don't have any problem with body cameras. Statistically, around the country, and this was a big subject that when I went to the National Academy in 2017, we were still years away from getting body cameras here. So that was something I asked about. More often than not, body cameras around the country have helped officers far more than they've ever hurt them. Because what the law requires of an officer is just what is reasonable at the time of the incident. So if an officer perceives life-threatening danger, that body camera proves it, the officer's in the clear. The body cameras have helped a lot more than they've hurt, which
That's what I
has
had
been
hoped.
which has been to the far detriment of a lot of the fringe groups out there that scream and yell, we want body cameras. They're not getting what they had hoped for out of them.
Yeah. Okay, next question. How long until you would release a crime scene, for example, a business or a home?
That's up to the detectives. Detectives make those determinations. Sometimes if we have people who still live in that home after, say, a subject has passed away or whatever, we may have to get a warrant to be able to continue our crime scene investigation, a search warrant for the property. So that could take hours. But again, it's up to detectives. They'll determine when the scene is released. That's usually not up to the uniformed patrol officers.
Okay, next question. I love that we're getting questions. This is so cool. Do you know what drugs are automatically tested for in a toxicology kit as part of an autopsy?
I do not. I mean, I know that some of the standard things, but I couldn't tell you all of them. I have not. I've never worked in crime scene or homicide as part of my career, so I've never actually attended an autopsy from a law enforcement aspect.
Okay. Well, on that topic, are you seeing any particular kind of a drug causing a problem in Jefferson Parish?
The opioid epidemic is hit everywhere. Narcan use is as high as you can imagine. All officers in Jefferson Parish are now issued Narcan to have on scenes. So the opioid epidemic. And getting back to that, when I started my career, it was crack. We're talking the early to mid 90s. Crack was what you saw on the streets. It was a much more violent time. The crack epidemic was in and of itself a violent trade. So we saw a lot more street violence as a result of crack. Now with the opioid epidemic, you don't see as much violence over the drugs, but you do see a lot more drug victims.
Okay. Any other questions, folks? And if it's something that you feel is a little too complicated to type up, don't hesitate to unmute yourself and ask it physically.
And I will also say that if we do eventually host a meeting at a JPSO location, I plan to be there. So if you have anything between now and then you think of, any questions that come up, I've sent my contact information through the chat or save it for that meeting. If we do get to host it, I plan to be there. So ask me then.
That would be great. Melinda, are you back? I know Melinda there she is.
I'm here, but I was muted. Yeah, it kicked me off. So one of the things that I guess from a mystery/crime writer's perspective that would interest me is there anything, I mean, I know you talked a little bit about something that really grabbed you, but is there anything that in the job that you've experienced that's just, that's really gotten to you in a negative way, that could be taken by a writer to add some sort of depth of character to their character? If they were writing, say, a sheriff character, what is something that you've experienced that might color their character's
No problem.
perception of the world? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, that might have been when you got kicked off. That was something that was asked, was what are some of the things that have been really hard to live with in my career? Crimes against children. The two worst things I can remember, and things that out of the blue will still haunt me to this day, are homicide scenes with small children. The worst was an 18-month-old infant who was put into a clothes dryer, and it was turned on, which killed the child. I have flashbacks of that every so often. I can't describe it for you, but there's a smell. I get a sense memory of that every now and then. And the other one was an entire family, a girl and her children, who were killed with a hammer by her jealous ex-boyfriend. Those are the things that have stayed with me over the years.
And the days of ink printing is gone, right? Aren't we all digital now?
Yes and no. You will still get some stuff done by hand. Officers, on misdemeanor cases, for instance, let's say I get called to a shoplifting at Walmart. I may have to take a voluntary statement from the Walmart employee, the loss prevention associate who observed it. I may have to get a statement from them as to what happened, and that is typically done by hand. A misdemeanor arrest, if we do not have to physically take control of a subject and bring them in for an arrest, we do what's called a misdemeanor summons, kind of like a ticket, but that is also done by hand. And of course, tickets are done by hand still in Jefferson Parish.
Okay, and we have another question in the chat. It sounds as if it's more up to the DA than the detectives as to whether or not someone is arrested. Is that correct?
No, not necessarily. On homicides, if there is any, like if it's iffy, it depends on the crime too. Homicide, usually you'll have a lot more concrete information. If it's in any way speculative, as far as like the Cliff thing, well, there was only one witness who isn't sure what they saw, and the explanation by the subject, the possible suspect, is plausible, then that may be referred to the district attorney's office for their ruling. But it's, again, no, not necessarily for an arrest. Now, there's a difference between the arrest and what they're charged with in court. So a lot of times a physical arrest will be made if there's probable cause to make the arrest. But as far as what the subject is charged with in court, that is what the district attorney's office will make the determination on. Just because an arrest is made doesn't mean the case proceeds forward. The district attorney's office can review it and decide there are no charge, there's nothing worth pursuing, or that it might just be not worth their effort to pursue because there isn't enough that they feel they can bring to court. Doesn't mean that the officer didn't have the probable cause to make the arrest on the scene.
Okay, and do police officers use landline phones in the office or mobile only?
We do have phones in the office. There are phones at the district. There are phones at the jail. No one, I say no one, patrol officers aren't issued phones by the department. So if they have to call in something, they either have to use their cell phone from the road or find a phone somewhere to use. But there are phones at in all of our physical locations, we have landline phones.
Okay, and how does the officer in the patrol car communicate back with the base if they aren't issued cell phones? Do they have walkie-talkies or two-way?
Oh yeah, we have radios. Every officer has a radio on them.
Okay.
Most of the time, you'll see officers with a shoulder mic. If you see a little square sitting on their shoulder, that's their shoulder mic. They'll
They all
press a
look
button
like
on
they're
that and talk.
talking to themselves.
Yeah, that's why most of us you see leaning our head like this all the time. We're sticking our ear right on top of our shoulder mic, trying to hear what headquarters might be saying.
Cool. Yeah. Do you ever find something that interferes with reception on those, a particular locale?
All the time. Yeah. Hospitals are terrible. I don't know what it is about hospitals. I don't know if it's the MRIs in the buildings, if it's the way they're constructed with a lot of metal reinforcements. But hospitals, the emergency rooms and such like that are horrible for police radio reception.
Lots of electronic devices going 24/7 is a biggie there, I would guess. Great. Okay. What is the nicest thing that a civilian can do for you?
And it's funny that you say that, because a lot of people seem to think that we have this negative, that every police officer is jaundiced and negative and all this. I have people every day, even now, thank you for your service, officer, all the time. We do not have that negative public perception that people think we do, because the citizenry that I find is very supportive of us. People, like I said, people tell me literally every day I'm in uniform, thank you, officer, for your service. Can I buy your lunch? Can I get your water for you? Can I do this? Can I do that? People are as good and kind as they've always been. Unfortunately, we in America love bad news. We love negative sells. So that's all we ever hear. And you'll get a lot of young officers who buy into that because they hear the negative news and they think the world is out to get them. Anybody who's been doing this for more than a little while has come to realize, no, the public actually really likes us.
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself. I have been blessed throughout my life with great police officers, from my best friend's father when I was in elementary school right on up to today. And so, yes, thank you for your service.
And you hear a lot of people, something you also always hear is, would you want your kids to do this? Yeah, if that's what they want to do. My oldest son is a deputy in the 3rd District of the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. And I heard all of that when he first came on. He worked in the jail, went through the academy, and is now on the road. I heard that throughout. How could you let your son do this? How could I not? To be perfectly honest, everything I've ever owned in my entire life is a direct result of the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. I am the 3rd of now 4 generations to work for JPSO. My family has over 300 years of service, but I was the first police officer. My family was always in the civil side. They worked in the tax bureau, finance, records, things like that. I was the first to ever put on a uniform, go through a police academy. But literally everything I've ever owned is a direct result of JPSO. And I've had a good life. I've helped to raise 3 beautiful children that I'm very proud of. I met my wife through JPSO, working at one of my first details I ever worked at a Walgreens, and I met the really pretty pharmacist there. And I'm happy to say she's my wife today. So literally every good thing in my life is a result of JPSO. How could I badmouth that? I love what I do.
That's great. We have another question. Do police use electronic tablets to take notes?
No, they have a newer version of a laptop they use to write their reports on, but not an electronic tablet, no.
Okay, still using the little flip pads?
Yep, pretty much. And now some agencies do have a version of kind of a hybrid version of a laptop where they can remove the screen kind of like a tablet. We do not have that in JP. I know we tested a couple of them out. I think I don't know if they weren't as reliable as the department was hoping for, or if they were cost prohibitive. But we did not go with that tablet hybrid style. We stuck with just regular old laptops.
Okay, anyone else? I feel like I'm monopolizing your time, so I'd like to let other people get a chance to chat with you.
All right, are we all good?
I believe we are. Melinda, did you
Well,
have
thank
anything
you.
to add?
All right, well, thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate this. Is now a new thing for me in my retirement, so I'm glad I got to do this.
Well, thank you so
I
much for
appreciate it.
joining.
We
Ah,
appreciate it
happy to
so
do it.
Very informative. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm happy to do it for y'all. Y'all take
Well,
care. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Chad.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoy
Bye-bye.
the strawberries.
I will try. Thank you.
And thank you again to our special guests who have come to us from across the nation today, Florida, Connecticut, Maryland, and I believe I would like to actually, we had one more, she may have already left. Looks like she might have left. We had one more person pop in, but I think she already popped out. But thank you so much for joining us. And please feel free to join us for anything that we post on the Sync National site. We are happy to include you. Sync is all about being a community of writers. So the more the merrier. Again, thank you for stopping in. And I hope that everyone in attendance today found some useful nuggets of information. If you have anything that you do think of, jot it down. We are going to try and see if we can get that sheriff's office room for our June meeting so that we can do our writer self-care with free 5-minute chair massage and goodie bag for everyone in attendance. We'll let you know more on that as that transpires and Chad gets back to us to let us know if that room is available. Again, thank you. Does anybody else have any parting shots?
Nope.
If we do get that Jefferson Parish room, could we also maybe get a homicide detective to come give us maybe a 30-minute little presentation?
I can talk to Chad and see if he knows anybody who can pop in and do that for us.
Rather than just use it for, some self-indulgence on the part of us. I would like to, while we're there, maybe to make a contact.
That's fine. We can do that. All right. Anybody else have anything? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we, like I said, by Monday, we will be sending out the link again to Valika's video and to the additional information that she has sent me that will help us understand the Enneagram a little bit better and to give us time to formulate any specific questions that we have about that particular topic so that we can get to know our characters better. That will be on May 21st at 10 a.m. And she will be back with us and we'll have that information sent out to you guys by Monday. All right. I may be a little bit hard to get in touch with Monday through Thursday. I will be having 4 surgeries, and I'm not sure exactly how they'll affect me, but I have faith in my board and my wonderful VP. And if you, for whatever reason, you can't get in touch with me via email, please feel free to reach out to any of them. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I will see you May 21st for Valika Gray Command Performance of Getting to Know Your Character.
I have one question for you, Melinda.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we have now Valika and possibly June, but all the other newsletters I'm seeing from Sync, and we used to do that, is put out like the next 3 months, who the speaker is and what we're planning on sharing. So it would kind of create a little more enthusiasm about attendance. And sharing.
So
I think you could do that, give it, like who the speaker is with a little short bio to Marissa that you set up.
That
So
I
let's
can
do that.
do that, but the problem that I have run into is that everything that I had planned out back in as far back as October, because I had the whole year set up, but that was with the, hope and intent that we were going to be back in a live space, because some of the things we had planned would work so much better as a live presentation as a set of a Zoom. That was one of the things we talked about before you popped in, was we are running into a brick wall as far as having a meeting space. Chad's helping us out. He volunteered to get us a JPSO space, but still everybody keep your nose to the grindstone to try to find places, because we've struck out with Martin Wine Cellar, with the American Legion Hall, with the VFW Hall, with the Bucktown Hall. So if anybody.
The library, I finally made contact with someone who's there, because the previous people we gave the donation to are all gone. But so they sent it to the person now who took their place, and she's contacted me, and we're kind of going back and forth. So she's trying to help us find out when the library in Orleans will be available again. But as you can see, like today, we didn't need to be in a room for his presentation. Most things, and that's what we're looking for, is the information. We don't need to be in a space to do a presentation like this. So those people that you contacted, ask them if they'd be willing to do a Zoom in light of us not getting a space. It'd just be a whole lot easier. And then I think more people would attend if they knew what was coming down the pike. Anybody else have an opinion on that?
I will do my best to put it all together and see the availability of the speakers via Zoom for the rest of the year. And I'll probably call another board meeting just to verify with everyone to make sure that the choices that were made everyone is in agreement with. But like I said, Monday through Thursday, I'm unlikely to be very
Understood, and good luck.
Yeah. But
I will also be out of pocket on Monday because of Trudy's surgery. So
good luck to Trudy.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else have anything?
No.
All right.
Thank
I
you
love you guys.
Thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for joining us, Marianne. It was a pleasure to meet you. I can't wait to read your first book.
Thank you for joining us. Feel free.
And can you do me a favor, Mary Beth, because I can't do it from where I am. Can you do a save the chat?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And then when you save it, can you shoot me a copy in email form? It should allow you to do it. Well, it should just allow, once you save it, you should be able to just send it as an attachment to the email.
Okay. I know at one point I had done it accidentally. And what I can do is I can just copy and paste it into Word and send you that.
That'll work.
Rather than take the risk of shutting it down and then losing it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, guys. Gals, have a great rest of your weekend. Those of you in Louisiana, go enjoy the Strawberry Festival if you get a chance. Those of you in Florida, go out and enjoy the great sunshine. Those of you in the northern part of the country, I hope it's getting warmer. So we will see you all next time, May 21st. And if you have any newsletter information, don't forget to shoot that over to Marissa. See you guys later.
Great. Bye. Thanks everyone for coming. It was great having you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.